Welcome back, coin hunters and collectors. Today, we're looking at top 5 of the most interesting and potentially valuable United States Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coins. The Lincoln Memorial cent was introduced in 1959 and became one of the longest-running designs in American coinage. Although billions of ordinary memorial cents were produced, certain dates, mint marks, double-die varieties, and unusual reverse designs can make individual coins dramatically more desirable to collectors. Let's get started. First up, the 1966 Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin with no mint mark. Don't spend it before taking a closer look. At first glance, this old Lincoln penny may appear to be nothing more than an ordinary 1-cent coin, especially if it is circulated through many hands. But the 1966 Lincoln cent has an interesting history, distinctive design features, and a collector market that becomes much more exciting when the coin is found in unusually high condition or with a recognized variety or era. In today's video, we're taking a detailed look at the 1966 Lincoln Memorial cent with no mint mark in fine condition, discussing its history, rarity, collector demand, and realistic market value in US dollars. Up to 1966 Lincoln Memorial cent were produced at the Philadelphia Mint, and the absence of a mint mark is completely normal. More than 2.18 billion regular strike 1966 Lincoln cents were produced, making this date common in circulated grades rather than an extreme rarity. The coin measures about 19 millimeters in diameter, weighs approximately 3.11 grams, and uses a copper-based composition of the period. The lack of a mint mark can sometimes make new collectors think they have discovered an unusual minting mistake, but for this year it is an expected feature. The reason the 1966 cent has no mint mark is connected to an important period in American coinage history. During the nationwide coin shortage of the 1960s, the United States Mint changed its normal mint marking practices. From 1965 through 1967, U.S. coins were produced without mint marks in an effort to discourage the public from identifying and hoarding coins from particular mints. That means a blank space below the date on a 1966 Lincoln cent is not automatically an error. Instead, it is part of the normal design and production history of the coin. On the obverse, you'll see the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln facing right, with "In God We Trust" above his head, "Liberty" to the left, and the date 1966 to the right. The reverse features a Lincoln Memorial, with E Pluribus Unum above the building and United States of America and 1 cent around the lower portion. The coin was designed by Victor David Brenner on the obverse and Frank Gasparo on the memorial reverse. These details are important when examining a circulated example because the amount of wear on Lincoln's portrait, the lettering, and the memorial can help determine the approximate grade. Now let's talk about the fine condition specifically. A fine, or F12, Lincoln cent has experienced substantial circulation, but the major design elements remain clearly visible. On a 1966 cent in fine condition, you should expect noticeable wear on Lincoln's hair and cheek, while the reverse may show significant smoothing on the memorial and its columns. The original bright red color will normally have changed to brown or reddish-brown after decades of circulation. This kind of wear is important because condition has a major influence on collector value. A common coin in circulated condition generally does not become extremely valuable simply because it is several decades old. So, is a 1966 no mint mark cent rare? In fine condition, generally no. Its huge production total means ordinary circulated examples are readily available. PCGS identifies the regular 1966 issue as a Philadelphia coin with a mintage of 2,188,147,783 pieces, and its rarity becomes much more interesting in very high mint state grades. PCGS specifically notes that high-grade MS66 and MS67 examples can be difficult to locate, with very few examples known at the very highest levels. This is an important distinction for collectors. The ordinary circulated 1966 cent is common, while exceptional condition examples can be considerably more desirable. For a fine condition 1966 Lincoln cent, the realistic value is usually close to face value rather than hundreds or thousands of dollars. Published price guides show only modest value for ordinary examples, with USA coin book listing values beginning around the lower end of the market and rising primarily as a coin reaches uncirculated grades. Therefore, if your coin is genuinely fine condition with ordinary surfaces and no major error or variety, you should not expect an enormous auction price. Its value may be only a few cents, depending on the exact condition and buyer demand. However, this is where coin collecting gets exciting. The 1966 cent has recognized die varieties, including double die obverse and double die reverse varieties. PCGS lists both DDO and DDR varieties for the date. Genuine major varieties can attract substantially more attention than an ordinary 1966 cent. There are also unusual mint errors that can bring strong auction results. For example, recent auction records include dramatic errors in varieties selling for hundreds or even more than $1,000. Those prices should never be used as a normal value of a standard fine condition coin because they represent unusual pieces rather than ordinary examples. The top end of the 1966 Lincoln cent market is dramatically different from the fine condition market. PCGS records an auction result of $6,463 for a 1966 regular strike Lincoln cent graded MS67 red, sold by Heritage Auctions in September 2012. This is a perfect example of why you should never confuse the value of an ordinary circulated coin with the price of a certified, exceptional condition specimen. A fine condition penny and an elite MS67 red penny may look like the same date to a casual observer, but collectors and grading services treat them as completely different levels of preservation and scarcity. If you own a 1966 Lincoln cent, the first thing you should do is check the. Next up, the United States Lincoln Memorial 1 cent from 1998, with no mint mark, in damaged condition. At first glance, this may look like an ordinary penny that has spent years in circulation, but coins like this can still be interesting to collectors because their value depends on much more than just a date. In today's video, we'll explore the history of the 1998 Lincoln cent, its important design features, what the absence of a mint mark means, how damage affects collector demand, and what you can realistically expect from the auction market. So before you spend or discard a 1998 penny, take a moment to examine it carefully. The Lincoln Memorial cent has a fascinating place in American coin history. The Lincoln cent was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, and the famous Lincoln Memorial design appeared on the reverse beginning in 1959. By 1998, the Lincoln Memorial cent had already been produced for nearly 4 decades. The obverse features a familiar portrait of President Abraham Lincoln facing right, with the words "Liberty and in God we trust," along with the year 1998. The reverse shows the Lincoln Memorial Building, surrounded by the denomination 1 cent and United States of America. These coins are produced for everyday commerce, meaning enormous numbers entered circulation. One important feature of the 1998 cent is its mint mark, or more accurately, the lack of one. A 1998 Lincoln cent without a mint mark is generally associated with a Philadelphia mint. During this period, Philadelphia-produced cents did not carry a P mint mark, while cent produced at Denver carried a D and San Francisco-proof cents carried an S. This means that simply finding a 1998 cent without a mint mark does not automatically make it rare. In fact, the Philadelphia issue was produced in very large quantities. Collectors therefore need to look beyond the missing mint mark and examine the coin's condition, strike, surfaces, errors, and overall originality. Now let's talk about the damage condition mentioned in today's coin. Damage can include deep scratches, dents, corrosion, environmental discoloration, cleaning marks, bends, heavy staining, or other problems caused by circulation or improper storage. For a normal 1998 Philadelphia cent, significant damage generally reduces collector interest rather than increasing it. This is an important point because internet videos and online listings sometimes show ordinary damaged coins with extremely high asking prices. An asking price is not the same thing as a confirmed auction sale. Genuine auction value depends on what buyers are actually willing to pay. So, how rare is this 1998 Lincoln Memorial cent without a mint mark? In ordinary circulated or damaged condition, it is not considered a major rarity simply because it lacks a mint mark. Millions of Philadelphia cents from this era exist, and many remain in collections, jars, boxes, and circulation. However, collectors still examine these coins because unusual minting errors can sometimes transform an otherwise common cent into a collectible. Examples could include significant off-center strikes, double dies, die cracks, clip planches, broad strikes, or other genuine mint errors. The key word is genuine. A scratch, dent, stain, or damage caused after the coin left the mint is not normally considered a valuable mint error. When it comes to the current market value in dollars, a damaged 1998 Lincoln cent without a mint mark will usually be worth very little beyond its face value unless it is an unusual and authenticated feature. In heavily damaged condition, its market value may be only a few cents, and in many cases collectors will not pay a premium at all. Even nice circulated examples are generally inexpensive. Higher prices can occur for coins in exceptional uncirculated condition, certified high grades, or examples with legitimate mint errors. Therefore, it would be misleading to claim that every 1998 no-mint mark cent is worth hundreds, thousands, or millions of dollars. The real value comes from rarity, condition, certification, and documented sales. For collectors, the best strategy is careful examination rather than excitement over a large price tag. Use good lighting and, if possible, a magnifying glass to inspect the date, Lincoln's portrait, the lettering, the memorial building, and the coin's edges. Look for unusual doubling that appears in the design itself rather than random scratches. Check whether the coin is actually made from the expected copper-plated zinc composition used for circulating Lincoln cents of this era, and be cautious about unusual-looking color or weight. A precise digital scale and proper measurements can sometimes help identify something worth investigating. Avoid aggressive cleaning, polishing, scratching, or chemical treatment, because these actions can permanently damage the surfaces and make an otherwise interesting coin less desirable. If you believe your 1998 Lincoln cent has a genuine mint error, consider comparing it with trusted numismatic references and photographs before spending money on professional authentication. For potentially valuable varieties or errors, certification from a respected grading service can provide stronger evidence of authenticity and condition. When researching auction prices, focus on completed sales rather than current online asking prices. A seller can list an ordinary penny for an enormous amount, but that does not establish its true market value. Actual auction results provide a much more useful picture of what collectors are willing to pay. In conclusion, the 1998 United States Lincoln Memorial 1 cent without a mint mark is an interesting piece of modern American coinage, but the missing mint mark alone does not make it a rare or extremely valuable coin. Because it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint in large numbers, ordinary damaged examples generally have modest value. Nevertheless, every coin deserves a quick inspection because genuine mint errors and unusual varieties can sometimes make a common date much more interesting. So if you have a 1998 penny in your collection, don't automatically throw it away, but don't assume it is worth a fortune either. Examine it carefully, protect it from further damage, research confirmed auction sales, and remember that in coin collecting, the smallest detail can sometimes make... Next up, the United States Lincoln Memorial 1 cent coin from 1960 with a D mint mark, specifically a coin in fine condition. At first glance, this copper-colored penny may look like an ordinary piece of pocket change, but coins from this era can become interesting to collectors when you examine their date, mint mark, condition, variety, and overall eye appeal. In this video, we'll explore the history of the 1960 D Lincoln Memorial cent, its unique characteristics, how rare it really is, what collectors may pay for examples in different grades, and what you should look for before deciding whether your coin deserves a closer examination. The 1960 Lincoln Memorial cent belongs to the early years of the Lincoln Memorial reverse design. The Lincoln cent had already undergone a major design change in 1959, when the classic wheat reverse was replaced by Frank Gasparo's Lincoln Memorial design. The new reverse showed the Lincoln Memorial Building in Washington, D.C., with a denomination 1 cent and the inscription United States of America. The 1960 D cent was struck at the Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark beneath the date on the obverse. Millions of these coins were produced, so the date itself is not considered exceptionally rare. However, collectors often become interested when a particular example has a desirable variety, unusually strong preservation, attractive color, or an exceptionally high certified grade. One of the most important features to check is the date, 1960, and the small D mint mark below it. The obverse carries Victor David Brenner's famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln, with the inscriptions Liberty and I in God We Trust. The reverse features a Lincoln Memorial, which made this design instantly recognizable to generations of Americans. Since the coin is made primarily of bronze, older examples can develop brown, reddish-brown, or red coloration depending on how they were stored and handled. A fine-condition example normally shows noticeable circulation wear, with details on Lincoln's hair, cheek, jaw, and the memorial becoming softer than it would appear on an uncirculated coin. Even though fine condition is not a top grade, an attractive, problem-free coin can still be desirable as part of a complete Lincoln Memorial cent collection. Now let's talk about rarity and collector demand, especially when the coin is described as damaged or heavily circulated. The 1960 D cent itself is generally not considered a major rarity because of its large production. That means a normal fine condition example usually does not command an extraordinary price simply because it is from 1960. Damage can reduce the value even further. Scratches, corrosion, cleaning, holes, bends, heavy staining, environmental damage, or other problems can make an otherwise collectible coin much less desirable. However, collectors should never automatically throw away an old-looking coin. Sometimes what appears to be damaged may actually be an unusual mint-made characteristic, and certain varieties can attract stronger interest. The key is to determine whether the unusual feature happened at the mint or after the coin entered circulation. When it comes to current market value, a normal 1960 D Lincoln Memorial cent in circulated fine condition is generally a modest value coin rather than a multi-thousand-dollar rarity. Depending on the exact grade, color, eye appeal, and whether it has any recognized variety, a typical example may sell for around a few cents or perhaps a few tens of cents in ordinary collector markets. A particularly attractive circulated example or a coin with a recognized variety could bring more. By contrast, exceptional certified examples in much higher grades can sell for substantially more than ordinary circulated pieces. Auction records for top-condition Lincoln cents demonstrate an important lesson. The highest prices usually belong to coins with extraordinary preservation, strong original color, recognized varieties, or other exceptional characteristics, not simply to an ordinary circulated 1960 D cent for collectors. The first tip is simple. Examine the coin carefully before cleaning it. Never polish or chemically clean an old Lincoln cent just because it looks daty. Cleaning can leave scratches or an unnatural surface and may permanently reduce collector appeal. Use good lighting and, if possible, a magnifying glass to inspect the date, D-mint mark, lettering, Lincoln's portrait, and the memorial reverse. Look for unusual doubling, repunch features, die characteristics, or other abnormalities, but remember that not every strange-looking mark is a valuable error. A professional attribution or reputable coin reference can help separate genuine varieties from ordinary damage. Another important tip is to consider the coin's condition realistically. A fine condition 1960 D cent is collectible, but it should not be compared with a high-grade mint state example. If your coin has been cleaned, scratched, corroded, or otherwise damaged, its market value may be lower. If it has attractive original surfaces and strong detail for its grade, however, it may still make a nice addition to a Lincoln Memorial collection. For ordinary examples, professional grading may not be financially worthwhile because grading fees can exceed the coin's value. Certification makes more sense when there's a realistic possibility that the coin is unusually valuable because of grade, variety, or another significant feature. So, is your 1960 D Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin a hidden fortune? In most cases, a normal fine condition example is not $1 million coin, and collectors should be cautious about exaggerated claims on social media or online videos. But that does not make the coin uninteresting. It represents an important period in American coinage and can be a useful part of a Lincoln cent collection. Its real value depends on the specific coin in your hand, including its grade, surfaces, color, variety, and authenticity. The 1960 D Lincoln Memorial cent is a fascinating piece of American numismatic history. While its large production means that an ordinary fine condition example is generally affordable, unusual varieties and exceptionally preserved examples can attract stronger collector attention. If you find one, check the date and D-mint mark, study the surfaces, avoid cleaning, and compare the coin with reliable price guides and actual auction results rather than relying on sensational asking prices. Next up, the United States Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin from 1975 with a D-mint mark, specifically an example in fine condition. At first glance, this may look like an ordinary old penny that is worth only a few cents, but collectors know that the story behind a coin can be just as interesting as its price. So, could this 1975 D Lincoln Memorial cent actually be rare? And what might it bring in today's market? In this video, we will explore its history, design, rarity, collector demand, condition, and realistic auction values in US dollars. Most importantly, We will separate the ordinary circulated examples from the truly exceptional specimens that can command much higher prices. The 1975 D. Lincoln Memorial Cent was struck at the Denver Mint and carries a small D mint mark below the date on the obverse. More than 4.5 billion examples were produced at Denver in 1975, making this a very common issue overall. The coin belongs to the Lincoln Memorial Cent series, which began in 1959 to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The obverse features Victor David Brenner's famous portrait of Lincoln, while the reverse, designed by Frank Gasparro, displays the Lincoln Memorial with the words 1 cent in United States of America. The 1975 D cent was made from a traditional copper alloy used for Lincoln cents of this period, with a diameter of about 19 millimeters and a weight of approximately 3.11 grams. One of the most important features to check is the mint mark. On this coin, the D confirms that it was produced at Denver rather than Philadelphia. You should also carefully examine the date, lettering, Lincoln's portrait, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Because billions of cents were produced during this period, a normal 1975 D cent is not automatically rare simply because it is old. What can make an individual example more interesting is a condition, color, strike quality, possible mint errors, or an unusually high certified grade. Collectors often distinguish between brown, and red examples in uncirculated grades, with bright original red color generally being more desirable. Now let's talk about rarity and collector demand, especially for a coin described as fine condition. A fine-grade coin has noticeable circulation wear, but the major design elements remain clearly visible. For a 1975 D cent, fine condition does not normally make the coin rare. In fact, professional coin references describe the issue as plentiful, with examples through the mid-mint state grades being readily available. PCGS specifically notes that the 1975 D cent was well struck and that examples up through MS66 are common, while much higher grade becomes significantly scarcer. This means that a circulated fine example should not be advertised as a rare or million-dollar coin simply because of its year and mint mark. The damaged or heavily circulated condition of a 1975 D cent can reduce its collector appeal even further. Scratches, corrosion, environmental damage, cleaning, stains, dents, or other problems may make an already common coin worth little above face value. However, damaged coins can still have educational and historical interest, particularly for beginning collectors building a complete Lincoln Memorial Cent collection. The important lesson is that rarity and condition work together. A common coin with damage generally remains inexpensive, while an exceptionally preserved example with a very high certified grade can become much more interesting to collectors. So, what is the current market value? For a normal 1975 D Lincoln Memorial Cent in fine circulated condition, you should keep your expectations realistic. Available price references place circulated examples at only modest amounts, and NGC's current guide shows very low values across circulated grades, while other market references show that ungraded examples can trade for around the dollar level depending on the seller, condition, and market. In other words, a fine example generally is not a high-value coin. Its greatest value may come from its condition being better than expected, an unusual error being discovered, or the coin being part of a larger collection. But here's where the story becomes much more interesting. High-grade 1975 D cents have produced dramatically stronger auction results. PCGS records an auction record of $4,113 for a 1975 D Lincoln Cent graded MS67 Plus Red, sold by Heritage Auctions in March 2014. Another PCGS auction record shows an NGC MS66 example selling for $25 in 2013. These results demonstrate an important point. The famous high prices associated with this date are not representative of an ordinary fine condition coin. They belong to exceptional, professionally graded specimens that are vastly different from a circulated penny. For collectors, the best strategy is to examine the coin carefully before deciding what it is worth. First, confirm that the date really is 1975 and that the mint mark is a genuine D. Next, inspect the surfaces under good lighting. Look for unusual doubling, missing details, die cracks, off-center striking, clipped planches, or other genuine mint-made abnormalities. Be cautious, because damage caused after the coin left the mint is not the same as a mint error. Also avoid cleaning the coin. Scrubbing or polishing can permanently damage the original surface and may reduce collector value. If you believe your coin has an unusual variety or exceptional preservation, professional authentication, and grading may be worth considering. The biggest lesson from the 1975 D. Lincoln Memorial Cent is that not every old coin is rare, and not every expensive auction result applies to every example of the same date and mint mark. A fine condition 1975 D cent is generally a common circulated coin, while exceptionally high-grade examples can be much more desirable. Therefore, if you find one in your pocket change, an old jar, or a family collection, do not immediately assume that it is worth thousands of dollars. Instead, check the condition, look for genuine mint errors, compare it with reliable price guides, and remember that actual auction results are often more useful than sensational online asking prices. The 1975 D. Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin is an interesting piece of American coinage history, but its rarity depends heavily on the specific example. With more than 4.5 billion struck at Denver, the ordinary fine condition coin is not considered rare and will usually have a modest market value. Next up, the United States Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin dated 1980, showing no mint mark and found in dirty condition. At first glance, this may look like an ordinary old penny that has spent years in circulation, but coins like this can still be interesting to collectors because their value depends on much more than age. The date, mint mark, condition, color, errors, varieties, and overall eye appeal all play important roles. So, before you throw an old 1980 penny into a jar or spend it, let's examine what makes this coin interesting and what it could realistically be worth in today's collector and auction market. The 1980 Lincoln Memorial Cent was part of the long-running Lincoln Memorial series that began in 1959. It features a famous portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, with the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," along with the date 1980. The reverse displays a Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., with the inscriptions "United States of America," 1 cent, and "E Pluribus Unum." A 1980 cent without a mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Unlike cent from Denver or San Francisco, Philadelphia cents of this era normally did not carry a mint letter. Therefore, the absence of a mint mark on a normal 1980 Philadelphia cent is not automatically an error or a rarity. One of the most important features to understand is the coin's composition. By 1980, Lincoln cents were made primarily from a copper alloy rather than the later copper-plated zinc composition introduced in 1982. A standard 1980 cent contains a substantial copper component, giving it the familiar reddish-brown appearance when preserved and a darker brown appearance after years of circulation. The coin has a diameter of about 19 millimeters and a face value of 1 cent. Collectors should also carefully inspect the date, lettering, Lincoln's portrait, the memorial columns, and the edges for unusual characteristics. A genuine minting error, such as a major off-center strike, double design, broad strike, or other recognized error, can make an otherwise common date dramatically more interesting. Now let's talk about rarity and collector demand, especially because this particular example is described as being in dirty condition. A normal 1980 Philadelphia Lincoln cent is generally considered a common coin, and millions were produced. Being old does not automatically make it rare. Date, discoloration, scratches, corrosion, and heavy circulation generally reduce collector appeal rather than increase value. In circulated or dirty condition, most ordinary examples are worth only a small amount above, around, or sometimes even below their face value depending on the buyer and market. However, collectors may still save these coins because they are part of the Lincoln Memorial series, and attractive examples with strong original surfaces can be much more desirable. When we reach the auction market, it is important to separate realistic values from sensational claims. A dirty 1980 no-mint mark cent with no unusual error should not normally be described as a thousands or millions of dollars coin. Its value in ordinary circulated condition is generally modest. A heavily dirty or damaged example may trade for only a few cents, while a cleaner circulated specimen might bring a little more depending on condition and demand. Higher-grade examples, particularly professionally graded coins with excellent surfaces and strong red color, can command substantially higher prices. The biggest auction results are usually associated with exceptional condition, certified grades, or significant mint errors, not simply the date 1980 and the absence of mint mark. So, what should you look for before deciding that your 1980 penny is valuable? First, examine the coin under good lighting. Make sure the date is clearly 1980 and confirm that there is no mint mark beneath the date. Next, inspect both sides for doubling, unusual shapes, missing design details, cracks, clips, off-center strikes, or other abnormalities that appear to be related to the minting process. Be careful, because damage caused after the coin left the mint can sometimes look like an error. Scratches, dents, chemical discoloration, and environmental corrosion are common on old circulated cents and usually do not add value. If you believe you have a genuine major error, professional authentication can be worthwhile. Another important tip is to avoid cleaning the coin. If your 1980 cent is dirty, do not scrub it, polish it, scrape it, or use harsh chemicals. Cleaning can leave permanent hairline scratches and destroy the original surface, potentially making the coin less desirable to collectors. Instead, preserve it as found and store it in a suitable non-damaging holder. If the coin appears unusually well preserved or has a potentially significant mint error, consider comparing it with certified examples and obtaining an expert opinion before selling it. Auction descriptions, grading information, and actual completed sales are much more useful than online asking prices because sellers can list ordinary coins for unrealistic amounts. The 1980 United States Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin with no mint mark is an interesting piece of American coinage, but the normal Philadelphia issue is not considered a major rarity simply because it lacks a mint mark. In dirty condition, its market value is usually modest, often only a few cents for an ordinary circulated example. The real opportunity comes from discovering something unusual such as a genuine mint error, exceptional preservation, or a very high certified grade. So if you have a 1980 penny in your collection, don't immediately assume it is a fortune, but don't ignore it either. Examine it carefully, protect its original surfaces, and compare it with reliable auction records. You never know when an ordinary-looking penny might contain a fascinating variety or minting mistake. If you enjoyed this coin hunting journey, make sure to check your old jars, rolls, and collections because the next interesting discovery could be hiding in your pocket chain.